Alright, y'all heard it from Reddit. Elena is not good enough. You don't have to watch this video. Goodbye. I'm just kidding. But anyways, hello and welcome to today's content, which will be on Elena. And I'm just glad she's finally out and she actually has a very good capable kit. If you do want to know what I do think of her, you can use the time frame below if you just want to get to her rating. But seriously, she is a really great unit, I just have to say. And I'm kind of excited. We also had the play by the book set up for her because I do believe she's actually capable of being another hyper carry type of unit. But yeah, without further ado, let's begin. Here we are for her abilities. Her main job is the Azure Pathfinder. From here, she has Lux Overflow, she has Evildoers Beware, Crystal Shine Bright, which is a 2-hit, if you can see right there, it's a 2-hit, Stella Maris, and then Gemini Blade, which is a 4-hit. As you can see, it's only low damage for now, but don't worry about it, I'll talk about it very briefly. Her limit break is going to be Prismatic Punishment, which is also a 3-hit ability and will be her best AoE and long range ability in terms of damage. As you can see, she is mostly oriented towards single target damage. For her EX upgrades, Gemini Blade now turns into Iridescent Blade, which is now going to be 4 hits. Well, I mean, still 4 hits, but the damage modifier has now gone up to 165%, which is a large amount for a 4-hit ability. So she will be not only breaking magic barriers, but she will also be chaining very high and dealing a good amount of damage. Lastly, her EX ability, level 120, and why I believe she is suddenly a great unit is that she has I've Tempered My Resolve, which is 200% chance to ignore fatal damage for herself. She gets Immortal Spirit on her main job. This is huge. Now for her abilities, for Azure Pathfinder subjob, she gets Light Shall Bathe the World, which is not too much high damage. It is an AoE ability and it has a chance to immobilize for magic attack types. She has Star Supernova, which is going to increase Human Killer and Demon Killer by 25. So her damage is 165% on this for modifier. As you can see, it's also a small AoE, but it is 3 tiles out at least, so it is capable of being like her other abilities in terms of range. Now her Kotodama subjob, she does get nimble movement because it will help her in terms of setting up her attacks, which is very nice. Unavailable Pain, she does have a confirmed 100% hit ability, as well as she has anti-magic wall if you're specifically hitting into magic teams, and I'll specify why I'm not too amazed by anti-magic wall right now. I'll talk about it a little bit in the rating video very soon. And lastly, we have her Rune Knight subjob, which does have Drain Evocation, which has a slash resistance penetration. Honestly, the Rune Knight subjob, if it had Hazard Slash, I'd be more happy about it. But because we use it mostly for the passive, this is good enough for now. But yeah, these are her abilities. Here we are for resistances and passives. And I know I made a little poke and jab at Reddit because they said she is not good enough because her resistances are bad, and I just kind of laughed at it because that's not even looking at all of a unit. That's literally just basing off resistances, which I really just can't agree with. But yeah, so here are her resistances to damage types. 0% to slash, which I mean, she's going to be a mage type, and no slash resistance means she will be capable of being hit hard by slash. She's 10% to pierce, -5% to strike, 10% to missile, and 10% to magic. So overall, you can see from her resistances, she has the same quote-unquote issue or setup as Titus, which is they don't have strong resistances. However, they have different tools and abilities to allow them to survive longer, which I will get into soon. She does have 0% AoE and 0% single target resistance. At level 120, master ability included, she has 0 defense and 2 spirit. 2 spirit's not going to be doing much, but yeah, we'll get to it later. Her resistances to statuses, 50% to sleep and paralysis. Paralysis is good. Sleep is we don't really see this. I really wish she had disable or stop here, and she has 10% to confusion. So as you can see, her resistances to statuses are kind of mediocre. They're not really that good, but hey, at least she has paralysis, and I will explain why the statuses don't mean too much. Now, for master abilities, she has increase of HP, and the light attack for the mono, light as usual. And as we discussed in the play by the book, she did happen to get agility and magic on her master ability. And what we meant by this is that means her passive will probably have the other things she needs, such as evasion, agility, no, not necessarily agility because she has it on her master ability, but evasion and slash resistance penetration or magic stat, etc. like that. But yeah, she is a 3 move, 1 jump, 100 cost unit, so she is limited cost as well. So if you want to grab her, you should do it in due time. But yeah, for her passives and her recommended, as we discussed, as last time. Her Asteria's Chosen turns into Champion of Asteria when it's EX upgraded. Gives her more agility, which is surprising. Gives her 40% slash resistance penetration, which is huge. And gives her 15 evasion, which is not bad at all. From here, the other recommended I would say is Dark Spirit's Blessing if you want to specifically go against magic units and or dark, and Sharp Mind if you're going to hit anyone that has high spirit or magic tanks in general. Also, it does increase her accuracy so that she doesn't necessarily have to use 100% hit abilities if she has a lot of luck stat with her vision card in that situation. From here, for Niche and Flex, she can increase her magic stat even higher if you want to just go for high burst, and like if they're not expecting an Elena, you can make use of like burst damage and just instantly kill units. Bathed in Sunlight, Nullify Sleep and Stop for herself, which is, I mean, the stop is nice, but it's really not useful enough to like take out one of her other passives. Increasing the HP is not bad, but she does not have the highest base HP in general, so I would not focus on that passive specifically. And that Light Enhancing Rune, similar situation as Magic Up. You can go for more damage if you want, but I wouldn't lower her Dark Resistance if you really want her to fight dark units in general, unless she is capable of hitting them first for one-shotting them and getting out really quickly. Now for her reaction abilities, Anti-Evil, chance to counter physical damage by 30% is going to decrease their accuracy by up to 25 for 3 turns per target. This is very good because it effectively gives her a total of like an additional 25 evasion against physical units if it procs. It has to proc. If it does not proc, it's kind of useless, but yeah. Outside of this, if she does survive a hit, Steeled Ephemeral Form is very nice to have just in terms of general of like decreasing damage taken, and Magic Commutation if you want to get more AP for herself. And I will say this right now, Magic Commutation I would not recommend because she actually has high starting AP, at least 50%. This also means she does not need bells, which is insanely good part of her kit. And yeah, we'll get to the next slide. Alright, and here is Elena's rating out of 5. I'll go over the ratings first, number-wise, before you decide or like read and listen to me like just blabber on. If you do not have good light setup for her and or the equipment for her, she is a 3.5 out of 5 or a 4 out of 5 unit because she is harder to set up than other units, and she is not like Helena, where Helena you can literally just plug in and play instantly. Elena is much more difficult to set up, and she does have a lot more mandatory like mono light setups to like fully utilize her like peak of her situation. And if you do have the setups for her and you do have ribbon if you want to go evasion and you have sort of light magic attack type, she is a 5 out of 5 unit. She hits insanely hard and penetrates through a lot of things. Her peak damage is actually higher than Helena's in terms of also not foregoing any survivability. However, without a proper setup, she hits significantly less than Helena, and she does not hit anywhere near Helena if you do not have the right setup. And that is why the numbers are there. Basically, if you have a strong light team and or you have strong light vision cards, I think Helena is a must pull. I think she is insanely strong. She will push out dark if you have a good setup. However, if you just want her as a unit and or you don't have a good light setup and or equipment slash vision cards, I don't think she's really worth your bang for buck, especially if you can just get Helena instead, because Elena, Jesus. She's not only a limited cost unit, she's also a 100 cost unit, which is much harder to also get. You have to spend at maximum 42k Visior for her banner if you want to hit the pity, guaranteed pity. And yeah, I mean the same situation could be said for Helena as well, but because Helena is not limited, she's more plug and play and she has a different kit, it is more easier for Helena to be better than her in more situations unless you have a proper setup for Elena. And yeah, that is my rating for her. Anyways, let's get to the pros. First off, Elena is able to become very high evasion and accuracy DPS with high spirit penetration and slash resistance penetration. This means slash resistance builds will not be as good on against her. That means she will penetrate through her damage. She has the same situation as Zazan the Unkillable, where they do high unmitigated damage or hard to mitigate damage because they have such high penetration. She does have low HP, however, she has high magic, high agility, very high luck stat. It's not the highest, but it's still very high. And she has 50% starting AP, which is huge. Being a magic swordsman with just like in general, any unit in general, I don't even know why I said magic swordsman, that has a good starting AP is huge because this means you do not have to use bells on them and they are flexible. So this is very, very nice to see. She has 40% spirit penetration on a passive, meaning she can rip through spirit built up tanks, like magic tanks. And she has access to 2 attack types of slash and magic attack modifiers with high damage modifiers, if anything. Like they have very high, how should I say it? They have high damage modifiers because of what she can do. However, the magic attack types will be significantly lower compared to slash, but she does have the option for it regardless. She's able to use both helmets and cloth armor, which allows for a lot of flexibility. However, big minus actually, but even though I put in the pros, she cannot use hats and heavy armor. No hats means no sage hat, and I'll get to that in the cons later. For her many abilities, she has multiple multi-hit abilities, and she's capable of chaining hits very quickly. She has not only a 2-hit ability, a 3-hit ability on her limit break, and a 4-hit ability. She literally will be chaining like crazy and destroying like magic barriers very, very quickly. She has extremely high agility potential because of her passive, and she can capitalize it even further. She has a base of, I mean not base, but like total of 68 agility, just as level 120 unit. If you use her passive with the agility / resistance penetration as an evasion, she gets to 75. That tops even Helena now, like by far. Like she is a speed demon. She is very, very, very quick. She's able to use Helena's TMR as well. On top of her main job at Mortal Spirit and Guts, on top of her evasion, she has 3 survival options now compared to other units. If you really want it, if you have a good setup for Elena, she will provide. She will be doing her job. She has very strong hard-hitting single target abilities, and she has decent AoE abilities. Keep in mind they are all short range. However, if she does get into range, you can highly expect her to be literally dishing out high damage. Her evasion potential actually rivals 2B's if you go for her 2 vision card synergy and evasion Esper in comparison to 2B. So if you use 2B and Tifa's vision cards together, she is rivaling their evasion if she's using her own vision card, as well as another 20 flat evasion from either Flash of Insight or Shiva vision card. She does like match their evasion, but she does have to use the Dark Chimera Esper specifically for slash damage, as well as all the evade nodes in that situation. Also, each sub job allows for a flexible unit usage as well as more AoE abilities. Like if you wanted more AoE abilities in general, like just to use, it would be her main job, sub job, the Azure Pathfinder. If you wanted like nimble movement, magic wall, then you would use which is it? The Kododama wielder as well, and 100% hit ability. I forgot to include that, but she does have unavailable pain. Or if you want Drain Evocation for 80% slash resistance penetration, if you set up it correctly, and or you want like Banish Aga Blade to hit really hard onto dark enemies, then you would use Rune Knight. So she literally has 3 options for not only utility, but also more damage potential and or more mitigation. She just has such a good kit for that situation on her subjobs. Now, she has very high agility control as well, and against and for herself, just in general, because she could lower up the enemies up to 20%, which is huge, and she could raise her own by 25%. She's already a speed demon. If she's raising her own or lowering yours, she will outlap you. I am not joking. She will almost guarantee outlap you if she gets this off on you, so you have to be careful on that. She's also to keep reaction abilities from happening, which can help insanely against annoying reaction ability situations such as like reflex and such. Keep in mind, however, certain reaction abilities that have more higher priority in terms of how they activate, like reflex can still proc on your first initiation of the reaction ability, like prevention. However, any future for 3-turn reaction abilities will not proc after that, so keep that in mind. Reflex can still proc on the first hit. Now for the cons. She has no base defense, and she has low spirit. Remember, it was only like base of 2 at level 120. That's super low. She must evade hits, have guts on, and or a barrier on, or she will die quickly. She will die quickly because she is squishy. However, she does have survival options, so you have to abuse her survival options. She has low HP and very short range abilities for damage. She must get into the fight very like head first for high DPS. She's not like Helena or like Yuna, where they can be more in the backline and use their long range abilities. She has to get face first for her highest damage abilities. She has no imperils, and her chain setups outside of slash as well as light make damage potential lower than Helena. As I said before, Helena has imperils, like, and especially her limit break, which is going to lower dark imperil. That means all dark units in general can capitalize off that like immediately, as well as herself. However, Elena does not have a situation for Imperils. Instead, she'll just be doing high raw damage itself because she has high penetration, and she'll be setting up for slash and light. That's why it's a little bit harder to make use of her damage potential, like in terms of team synergy. Outside of her evasion setup, there are limited vision card setups like Ramza's vision card, the Biolov one, as well as Signs of Shadow, which are extremely really useful on her. However, they are not currently available right now, and we do not know when they are returning, so she does not have much flexibility outside of her evasion setup if you do not have the proper vision cards that are limited right now. She is vulnerable to disable, stop, and most importantly guts removal and 100% hit abilities. If you go evasion and they have 100% hit abilities, she will be taken down quite quickly. However, she does have guts, but if they also have 100% hit abilities and or guts at the same time, like guts removal, then she is in a very hard predicament. However, there are almost no units in the game that have these two in tandem, so she is looking okay so far. Like, there is no hard counter to her right now. To become high evasion, one teammate must also utilize the evasion vision card from Shiva or Flash of Insight. Because Flash of Insight is still mono light, she can still get that 20 evasion from there, or Shiva. And if you want to really like bank on her evasion, you have to use that type of setup. Additionally, if you do want to use her as an evasion unit, she is unable to use Sage's Hat, meaning if you do not have the one-time trial run of Ribbon for a maximum potential of her evasion, she will be missing a significant amount of evasion modifier on her if you use any other build, because Ribbon is just that good in terms of flexibility, and she cannot use Sage's Hat, which is unfortunate. She's a much harder unit to use compared to Helena, as I said earlier in the Imperil situation, due to focusing on more selfish DPS and penetration, rather than Imperils and defense or like spirit debuffs. This does make it, however, that it is much harder to mitigate damage from Elena compared to Helena, where Helena, if you have a lot of spirit, she has to cast something to lower your spirit first, while Elena out the gates is just doing like very high damage. So it's that type of situation where one can set up for a situation while Elena does not need setup, but she cannot provide like a good setup for herself outside of slash and light. She also needs a mandatory level 120 to make use of her guts, otherwise she's missing a key part of her kit. You can go evasion if you want, but if you do not have the guts and they do manage to hit her, she is dead. She will be dying. But if you have guts, that significantly is a game changer due to the situation that she has. So yeah, honestly, Elena is a strong enough unit with a +1 light unit to match dark or require dark teams to use the Diablo vision card, and they cannot just go full bonkers damage only with no mitigation against light now. They will need some type of mitigation against Elena, which will be light resistance specifically. Without it, she will literally rip and tear through all the dark units like immediately. And she has to rely for survivability on her evasion, guts, and TMR setup. Remember, because she can use Helena's TMR, she can have a barrier on top of her guts, on top of her evasion setup. That means she has 3 possible options for survivability compared to Helena's, which is just 1, which is going to be her own TMR for a barrier. But if they break her barrier, she's going to die. So yeah, that's why if you have a proper setup for Elena, I do believe she's a 5 out of 5. However, if you do not know if you have a good light setup and or you're not sure if you will like have FOMO or will not pull for her, I do believe she is a 3.5 out of 5 or a 4 out of 5 unit if you do not have a proper setup for her. Now, lastly for her TMR chase rating, it's called Radiant Grace. It's a cult armor type. I did rate it a 3 out of 5. The reason why is the evade on it is very high, which is 18. And if you did use her sword with it herself, she does get the agility boost there if you need it. But yeah, the active effect is Aurora of Blessings, which is going to increase light and dark resistance by 20% AoE, as well as increasing slash attack for herself. So it's like specific mitigation against light and dark. Keep in mind, if this was all elements, I would put this at a 4 out of 5, maybe even higher specifically for her. However, because it is only light and dark, it is significantly missing out on other elements, especially lightning, and I say lightning because cloud will be a counter to her in term, well, not hard counter, but very effective against her in that situation. That's why overall I think this cloth armor is very good, 3 out of 5. It does not replace Ribbon, I'll say this, because there's no modifier like the +5 modifier of increasing evasion further, so it does not top Ribbon. However, it's a good substitute if you do not have Ribbon. So yeah, this is my Elena rating out of 5, just in general. I hope this helps if you want to pull her or not. Good luck if you do. And here's my example setup for Elena. And I would be using Summer Kilfei using Flash of Insight Vision card, not only to boost Kilfei's own damage, but also to provide the evasion that the entire team can make use of because of Elena using her own vision card for the luck percentage. Yuna specifically is here to re-raise onto Elena. If you thought Elena had 3 options for survivability, she now has 4 if you have re-raise. So yeah, there's another option. We're using the Bahamut vision card as well. This is specifically not only going to boost Elena's damage by a significant amount, but also the agility as well as the single target. So really, Elena is going to be extremely hard to kill in this situation. From here, Elena will be using the Sword of Light magic type. I did damage testing already. It is approximately 15 to 20% more damage compared to her Astera Astral. Her own sword. I don't know how to say it, but yeah. The Sword of Light will be better in terms of raw damage. If you want more flexibility in stats, her own sword is good. However, if you want the max amount of damage you can get, Sword of Light is better in that situation. From here, she would also be using Ribbon, because I happen to have Ribbon. I'm lucky. Hey, I got it. And Helena's TMR in this situation. She will also be using the Demon Chimera Esper specifically for all the evasion nodes so that she can rival 2B's evasion, where if you do not have accuracy and or 100% hit abilities, she is extremely hard to hit. And she'll be using her own vision card, as I said, not only to increase a little bit more of her damage herself, but also to give the team luck percentage in general. Some future stuff to consider. Santa Claus is still not out yet. We do believe we'll be getting it soon, maybe holidays. But yeah, this is going to be one of the best evasion clothes, which even beats out even Ribbon now. And because she can use cloth armor, not hats, this will be the new evasion armor to use specifically for her. And it will be, it's funny I put Santa Claus here because it's not only a counter for herself, but it's also good for her because it also has light resistance in that situation. Additionally, the engine blade that is coming out with the Final Fantasy 15 collaboration, there is a magic type that has 124 magic stat on it, which is, it's not 180 like her own sword. However, it's good. It's a good amount. And most importantly, it has an additional 20% slash resistance penetration. With her passive at the same time, she can hit 60% slash resistance penetration at all times, which is crazy. If she uses Drain Evocation with this setup, she can hit 100% slash resistance penetration. Keep that in mind. Additionally, I do believe counters for her specifically will be 100% hit and or high accuracy, dark units in general, and removal of guts on units will be they will do significant damage to her in general, as well as getting rid of some of her utility as well. Cloud's triple slash will do significant damage to Elena, not only because she has 0% slash resistance, but also 0 defense. It's 100% hit ability as well. It will shred through her very quickly. Kane specifically, once he gets his EX, his Dragon's Raid, I forgot what the name changes into for the EX ability, can remove guts. Whether or not he hits Elena, he is able to remove guts against her, and is a dark unit that can deal significantly high damage against her. So that is something to think about in terms of quote-unquote counters. I will say, I do not believe Helena and Dwayne are going to be counters to her unless you have a really badly set up Elena, in my opinion. I don't want to call people bad players, but if Elena is not killing them in return, you are doing something wrong because she has the proper setup and kit to return kill instantly without dying because she has guts and or evasion and or a TMR ability, and in my situation she does have re-raise. So if magic infusion is not being hit, then she still has the options for survivability, and or if you don't break her barrier instantly, she still has evasion and her other mitigation abilities ready. And yeah, I hope this kind of explains my setup and review of Elena. If you're going to pull for her, I pray for good RNG on your success. If you think Elena is a bad unit because you do not have a light setup, that is pretty unfortunate. Maybe next time if you have a stronger setup, you can get her on the next go around unless there are other units to kind of power creep her. But if you think Elena is a bad unit just because of only resistances and not looking into her kit, I don't know what to tell you. Resistances still play a big part in the game. However, if you're only looking at that without looking at the other possibilities, it's a tactics game. It's War of the Visions. You gotta look at everything. But yeah, at the end, we've come to the end of the video. If you like my review and analysis of her, please leave a like and a comment or subscribe. And yeah, until the next video, because I have a lot more to make. Peace out.